Saturday, it looked like I don't know if they're in LA or Vegas or what, but it's just like this thing continues to not go away. I continue to not really think it's something that is imminent, but I, you can't rule it out either. The Niners absolutely have a reputation of paying their guys, and I would expect that to be the case here. Helping us to understand is David Lombardi from The Athletic, covers the 49ers. You can follow him on X at Lombardi himself. Dave, thanks for making time for us, dude. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing well, man.
We're good, man. It seems like Washington and San Francisco are at the nexus of a story that just won't go away, which is kind of the Brandon Aiyuk, Jaden Daniels friendship, and what else could that mean? From your point of view, what is the likelihood of Aiyuk playing anywhere but San Francisco next season?
I think it's extremely low. The 49ers are in no position to worsen their team right now. They're desperate to kick the door down and win a Super Bowl. And they love the fact that they have Brandon Aiyuk at a $14 million number next season. Now, would they like to reward him with a long-term extension? Of course. Is that proving to be difficult? That's also a yes. But the team currently, he's under contract. He's been a tremendously efficient receiver. He's really important to what they do, not just in the pass game, but also the way that he blocks has been really big for an offense that it's just predicated on balance, right? So those receivers have to be able to get physical on the outside, and he's developed into exactly what the 49ers have needed. And, you know, when people talk about a trade, how do the 49ers get better in the short term if they trade Brandon Aiyuk? And I just don't see a clear path there. And the short term has to be their priority right now, just given the fact they've been to, 4 out of the past 5 NFC championship games that have come up painfully short time and time again over the past half decade.
But I'm sure the 49ers are smart enough to understand all this going on is basically negotiations.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And, you know, they're really experienced with it, too. In 2020, George Kittle was up for a new deal. They paid him. 2021, Fred Warner. 2022, Deebo Samuel. 2023, Nick Bosa. So every single season they have one of these guys come up to get paid, and that's a good thing, right? That means that you've drafted well, and then it's time to extend these players with a long-term contract. So the Deebo Samuel situation had some parallels. He actually demanded a trade back in 2022, but they hung in the pocket and they got stuff done. It's typically deadline pressure that makes both sides move, or at least one of the sides move to a spot where a deal is possible. And let's be honest, it's late June right now. It's not really a deadline at this point. Nobody stands to lose if they hang around for a couple more weeks without signing a contract. So I think that money time is going to be around training camp, or if this lasts as long as the Nick Bosa situation, a little bit closer to the regular season.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting in that the Niners deal with this all the time, and it's a testament to their drafting and player acquisition and their ability to get it done. The level of discourse does seem a little turbocharged in that Aiyuk saying, man, they don't want me. They don't want me.
They said they don't want me.
Right. How much do you believe this is anything but kind of the fight game, like the hype game to get to a finish line?
Yeah, I think it's definitely that, because a few days earlier, Aiyuk posted that he wants to be in San Francisco. So he's made it clear, I think, throughout the course of this offseason, despite a lot of these like cryptic messages that nobody really knows, you know, what he's trying to mean. He's actually clearly said a couple times that this is where he wants to be. And, you know, I don't know, you know, how else to kind of read what the other stuff is in this situation. I just think that it's ripe for posturing, in that when Justin Jefferson signed his contract a couple weeks ago, it was so far and ahead of everything else at the receiver position that I immediately saw trouble, not only for the 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk, but also for the Cowboys and CeeDee Lamb, and for the Bengals and Jamar Chase, because all these receivers are looking at the Justin Jefferson deal with the Vikings now, where it seemed to me that Minnesota was just bidding against themselves.
Yeah.
And all these receivers are going to want something closer to the Jefferson end of the spectrum, but the teams are not incentivized to offer nearly that much money. They're incentivized to keep the market to where it was before Justin Jefferson signed the deal. They want to treat that as an outlier. So that creates polarization, right? Players are going to want one thing that's far away from what the team wants. And I think in the Aiyuk case, where the 49ers are offering is nowhere near what Aiyuk currently wants. And that's what causes him to say, yeah, they don't want me. I think the truth is they just don't want him at the price that he's currently asking for.
And I think also if Adam Peters wasn't here in Washington, I don't think they'll get as much play as it's getting.
Yeah, that's also really true, right? Because and
the relationship with Jaden.
Yeah, and the relationship with Jaden. And Adam Peters, by the way, he was such a crucial component of what the 49ers have built over the past several years. The story of him and John Lynch linking up, this was back when Peters was in Denver's front office and Lynch was still a broadcaster for Fox. And he was invited by John Elway over the course of one of the off seasons to just sit in Denver's draft room. And he was seated next to Adam Peters. And that's how they got to know each other and they realized that they see the game in the same way. So then when Lynch was hired as the general manager of the 49ers in 2017, one of the first calls he made was to Adam Peters to be his top scout, essentially. So it's really cool that Peters is elevated now to an actual GM role with Washington. And, of course, there's going to be a lot of link now between the 49ers and the Commanders in these kind of talks just because of that connection.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And if there was going to be a trade, don't you think the time for it would have been at the draft when Peters had his full crop of picks? And he obviously knows Aiyuk. He knows all those guys in San Fran. Like it's a never-ending story here in DC because fans are excited about a possible 1,300-yard receiver, but it just doesn't seem to have real legs to me.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, you have to ask yourself, how do the 49ers get better or at least stay the same while trading away Brandon Aiyuk? And the only answer is they receive a lot in return. And a lot in return that they can turn into something that's productive on the field in the 2024 season. That's why there's so much chatter about potential trades heading up to the draft, because theoretically, a player of Aiyuk's caliber can command a first-round pick that you could turn around and use for a player that can immediately make you better at another position or at least pick up the slack that you would lose by trading him away at receiver. Now that the draft is passed, it gets so much harder. I guess a player-for-player trade is theoretically possible, but it does seem so hard to execute in the NFL. So I think a lot of people are bored at this time of the year, let's be honest. And it's something to talk about for a while, but I'm in your camp. I just don't see this as being all too realistic.
We thank you for giving us something to discuss, though.
Yeah. We need all the players to post all the Instagram content. David, thank you.
And people act like these players can just dictate where they're going to go. And
right.
It's just in the NBA, that's more the reality, right? I just don't think it is in the NFL.
No. Quarterbacks, maybe, but outside of that, it seems pretty difficult.
Yes.
David, thank you so much for the time, man.
You,
really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.